He's all class, this champion miler.
And he's launched on the outside here with a great turn of foot.
Pier, Pier.
Space Blues, Space Blues.
Space Blues.
He's danced every dance, he's an incredibly sound horse. After every run, he always comes back for more.
He's a true Darley that goes out there and he gives everything.
Well, it's time for this week's News You Can Use segment, brought to you by Darley, where we take a look at goings-on of racing, breeding, etc. in Europe with one of our TDN European editors, Emma Berry. And it's that time of year, both in our side of the Atlantic Ocean and your side of the Atlantic Ocean, where the sales are coming up, everybody's breeding, breeding season, etc. So who are the current hot stallions right now in Europe, Emma?
Well, sort of underneath that tier of proven elite sires that probably everyone is well aware of, you know, we've obviously got Dubawi, Frankel, Siuni, Morton Bassett, you know, that are, you know, at their absolute peak at the moment. We've had some really interesting younger stallions coming through, three in particular, actually, who had their first crop of classic runners last year. Blue Point, who is a son of Shamadal, and Tudan Hot, a son of Dubawi. Both sort of really sort of made headlines last year with a first crop classic winner for each of them, in Fallen Angel for Tudan Hot and Rosalian for Blue Point. He's also the sire of Big Evs, who will be familiar to American listeners from, you know, his Breeders' Cup appearances. And also Study of Man has been a bit of a, I wouldn't say left field sort of entry, if you like, onto the stallion scene. But he's a son of Deep Impact, and he was a Prix du Jockey Club winner himself in France. And he's made a really interesting start at Landwade Stud with quite small books. And he was the sire of Kalpana, who won on Champions Day last year, Group 1 winner for Jubbmont. So they've been three sort of really up-and-coming stallions here that I think, you know, everyone's well aware of them in Europe now. But they'd certainly be names to note for the future, because I think they have the look that their profile is only going to get bigger and bigger as they go along. And then we've, you know, got the excitement seems to start earlier and earlier each year for those stallions who have their first runners coming up. And already people are talking about, you know, what their 2-year-olds might be doing. We've got still a couple of months to go till the turf season even starts here. But, you know, with the Breeze Up sales, the 2-year-old sales being so influential now as well, you know, the guys involved in that are very professional, and they're already having quite a good handle on what stallions could be looking interesting to follow for this year ahead with their first 2-year-olds. We've actually got a number of quite a large number of those coming through as well. There's Pier, who's a multiple Group 1 winning miler for Darley. He's got his first 2-year-olds. I think you might see at least one of them racing over your way with Chad Brown. I believe he's got a half brother to Chindit, who is a good horse here. There's also a half brother to Cracksman, who is a multiple Group 1 winner as well, by Pier. Space Blues, good old Space Blues, who's a mighty racehorse, of course, Breeders' Cup mile winner. He'll have his first 2-year-olds coming up. And I was on a stallion tour in Ireland over the last few days, and I saw the lovely Starman, who's a great big horse. He was July Cup winner, really fast horse, but very imposing. He covered a very big first book. He's got his 2-year-old runners coming up, and I think they're quite excited to see what they can do, the team at Tally Ho Stud as well.
So, Emma, you mentioned Big Ev, who we're familiar with over here. There are some other names on the list of newly retired stallions that we're pretty familiar with here as well. Who are some of the ones you're looking forward to the most?
Well, again, another big intake coming through for this year. Certainly in Ireland, we've actually only got 3 new flat stallions in Britain this year, who are Bradsell, multiple Group 1 winning sprinter, Van Dijk, who will be featuring in TDN this week, and Isaac Shelby, who's at Newsells Park Stud. In Ireland, a much bigger intake, and they include another horse I was lucky enough to see yesterday, Big Evs, who you just mentioned, who was looking, like he really already owned the stallion yard at Tally Ho. He's certainly sort of enjoying showing off to breeders at the moment. And then, of course, slightly at the other end of the distance scale, we've got the last 2 Derby winners at Coolmore, August Rodin and, of course, City of Troy, who we heard so much about last season. They've been joined by Henry Longfellow. So they've got 3 new stallions there, as well as, Big Evs, Bucanero Fuerte, and the Mighty King of Steel at Tally Ho. So those two studs, just those two in Ireland, have obviously got plenty going on as well. And who else have we got that we should be mentioning? In France, of course, Big Rock and Charin, two Group 1 winning milers. They're going to be very interesting. The French scene's really sort of livening up again. They had a few quieter years, but they've got a nice intake of young stallions, including Pushkin as well, another Group 1 winner at Arrow de Beaumont. So there's a real, I mean, I think it's a bit of a shame for Britain this year that there's such a sort of a quieter year on the new stallion front, but certainly France and Ireland are making up for that. There's sort of plenty for breeders have been, out and about on the various stallion trails in the last few months and last few weeks, I should say, and having a good look at all of those horses.
So Big Evs is one of my favorite horses, along with King of Steel. How do we, you've got two totally different kind of horses. Have you been to see King of Steel? How does he look now? Because he was just a big, massive, gorgeous horse. Yeah, he really is. I mean, they're all at Tally Ho Stud, and where I was yesterday, in fact. And they are completely different physical types. Big Evs, despite his name, is actually quite a neat, compact horse, and he's got this great march about him. He doesn't look like a horse who thinks he's small. Let's put it that way. He comes out and he's got a great walk, and he just seems to have that great attitude. And King of Steel is imposing, that's for sure. But he's very well made. He's very well balanced and put together. So you would very much be considering the type of mares you'd send to each of those stallions. But you can't take away from King of Steel what he did on the track. He came so close to winning the Derby, and then was a brilliant winner. Later in the year, Frankie Dettori, great farewell for him in Britain in the Champions Stakes. So he's just he's a horse with a massive following, and he is big himself. But it'll be very interesting to see what his offspring are like in the next year.
Well, we want to thank Emma Barry, the European editor of the Thoroughbred Daily News, for news you can use, brought to you by Darley. Emma, thanks so much, and we look forward to catching up with you again soon, learning more about what's going on overseas. Thanks, Emma.
Thank you.
Thanks so much to Emma Barry. Well, you heard Emma Barry talk about some of the stallions with first-year 2-year-olds in Britain this year. They're including Palace Pier, whose offspring includes some connections to top horses with top trainers. It's no wonder Palace Pier's first book was so strong, and he now has 21 2-year-olds that are out of Group winners. 7 of these are Group 1 winners, including Integral, Great Heavens, and Speedy Boarding. 26 2-year-olds that are siblings to Group winners. 9 of these are Group 1 winners, including Cracksman, Anmat, Acclaim, Regional, and Light Infantry. 41 different known trainers, with the Gosdens and Willie Haggis having at least 4 2-year-olds apiece. It's going to be a very exciting year ahead indeed.